So today we are continuing our Linux sessions. So yesterday we saw how we can install Linux on our local machine and we can do the practice. But actually, for some it is if it's some you know you are not able to do it if your laptop is old or something issues or you are having office laptops and you cannot have your own personal laptop. So in that case, how can we practice? So that's we will see today. So you can see this is my portal.azure.com. So this is Azure account. If you don't have account, uh, you can create it. It's very simple. So here we have to just go to here, create a resource, and we have to select the virtual machine option. And then here you can see this window will appear. Okay. So once this window appear, what you need to do, subscription, it will be by default, which you have selected. And then you have to create the resource group. So what is a resource group? So whatever we are creating on a cloud, let's say you create a virtual machine, you create a VPC, you create a storage account. So all those will come under a single group. So you can create that. So click create new and give a name. You can give any name and click OK. So whatever resources you will create, so those resources will get created under this group only. So when we have done with our practical, we don't need to delete all the resource one by one. Simply, we can delete this resource group and all the resources will get deleted automatically. So virtual machine name, you can give any name. Let me give it Linux, VM Linux, and region. So make sure you select the nearest region. If you are from India, so select this Asia Pacific, South India, West India, from wherever you are located. So why this is required? This helps you to reduce the latency, network latency. Means how far you will decide the location, you will have the largest latency. Means your ping response will be more if you are selecting the longest distance. Then availability options, no infrastructure redundancy required. What it means? For example, do we need a same resource in any other area? So we are doing this for practice. So we don't need this kind of redundancy. Then security type keep by default image. So here you can see it is by default Ubuntu 24.0 LTS. If it is different from that, so then you can select Ubuntu. You can select any version. So I will go with 24.04. This is the latest version. Okay. Then this is a version of Ubuntu server. So remember, we have to select Ubuntu server, not the desktop. And then LTS. LTS is what? LTS stands for long-term support. So I will explain what is long-term support. And then x64. So this is a 64-bit architecture OS. So now you have Windows 10, Windows 11 on your computer. So you can check it is a 64-bit architecture. So this is a instruction set which is given to the operating system, and the instructions are given in a 64-bit format. Similarly, Linux also x64 we can select. And then VM architecture, you can select x64 same. Okay. And then size. So here size means whatever, how much RAM, ROM is required, that can be listed here. So here you can see standard B2, it will give us two virtual CPUs, 4 gigabytes of memory. Then it will change accordingly our plan. So if you select the higher plan, you will get maximum resources. So now here you can see it is giving an error. What it is says, your subscription doesn't support virtual machine creation in West India. Choose a different location. Okay. So that's why you can see all options are grayed out. I cannot select. So let's select a South India. Okay, so I selected South India and let me see if that option is available. So you can see it has selected automatically 2 CPU and 4 gigabyte of memory. So we don't need that much. We can go for a free tier. And here you will find free service eligible. So it will have only one CPU and 1 gigabyte of RAM. And it is showing 880.62 per month, free service eligible. So when you create an account for the first time, So you don't need to pay anything because it provides a 13,000 rupees as a bonus. So you can use that. And then here is the authentication type, select SSH public key, and then it is asking for a username. So username, just like your Windows username, who with what username you want to log in. So this is Azure user, and then SSH public key source. So now here is a twist. Okay, so how many of you are working for the first time on Linux server? Type yes if you are watching, you are dealing with the Linux for very first time. So I hope everyone is dealing with the Linux for the first time. Type yes, no, so that I can understand your level of understanding, and I will explain it in to your knowledge. Okay, so I can see everyone is dealing for the first time. So just like Windows, we use a login username and password. Linux also support that username and password, but due to security concern, we never use username and password on a production server. So instead of that, what we do, we create SSH key. So if you have worked on any cloud platform previously, like Azure, AWS, GCP, then you may are aware with this concept. But here, what we do, we create a key instead of username and password. So here, if you see SSH public key, I have selected. If I select a password, so it will ask me to put username and password. But this is not a recommended way. You can use it for practice purpose, but this is not an industry standard. If you start working on industry as a DevOps engineer or Linux administrator, you don't be using a password, username and password. You will be using only SSH public key. So what is this public key? So let's give a very simple example in a short. Just like we have used bank lockers, right? So you may have seen bank lockers has a two keys. One key is with the bank and another key is with us. So if you want to open the locker, first that bank personnel need to unlock the locker using his key, and then we can use our own key, and then only we can unlock that locker. Same time, when we have to lock the key, first we have to lock the locker from our key, and then banker will lock using his key. It means for keeping your assets secure, bank locker provides two keys. So the key which is shared key, that is key is with the bank. So that is called as a public key. And the key which is shared with you only, that is called as a private key. Similarly, here, whenever we are creating authentication for this machine, we have a public key and private key. So public key is shared with the users, and private key is stored on the Linux machine itself. So whoever has this public key can log into that machine. If you share this key with anyone accidentally or mistakenly, then that person which is having this key will able to access your Linux server. So this is a key which we use instead of username and password. So now here you can select username as Azure user. You can keep this SSH public key source. So let's create a new key and then keep all these things as it is. You don't need to make a change. Then it is asking to give a name to the key. Okay, SSH public. So you can give any name to this, but what I prefer, I prefer to give the name of a VM and add key as a prefix so that it will tell me which key it is. So you can see I have added key hyphen VM hyphen Linux. So I am creating this key for a VM Linux machine and then public inbound ports. So what is it public inbound ports? So we are connecting to this Linux machine using a protocol called SSH. SSH stands for Secure Shell. And just like in Windows, you want to take a remote access of this other machine, we use a RDP protocol, right? So in Linux, we use a SSH protocol to get access to that server. So here, uh, only port number 22 will be open. No other ports will be open. So that's why we select inbound port as a 22. So then just review and click create. There are other options also, networking. At this point, we don't need to go in detail for that because we don't need that. What we are trying to do, we are create. So you can see validation is passed. So once validation is passed, you can see create button is enabled. So click create. and it will ask you to download a private key and create resource. So here you can see an SSH key pair contains both public key and private key. Azure doesn't store the private key. After the SSH key resource is created, you won't be able to download private key again. So now here we are downloading this private key on our local machine, and then this key will not be saved. And if we lost this key, then there is no option to get this key again. So this is a private key which we have provided by the Azure. So same concept is used. You go for Azure, you go for AWS, or you go for GCP. So cloud is very simple and straightforward. So if you master any cloud, it may be AWS, Azure, GCP, you can easily learn the other cloud platforms. Okay. So here you can see it is a key vmlinux.pim. So this is a key, and we will see this what is SSH in depth when we will start SSH protocol in our Linux session. So at this point, just understand we are using key instead of username and password. So now here you can see option go to resource. So here we can see this is our resource, and this is a resource group where we have created RJ The status of resource is running. Where we have located this? So this is located in South India. It means the data center of Microsoft Azure, which is located at South India, there our machine is running. Then which operating system we are using? Linux. And then size standard B1S. Only one virtual CPU and 1 GB of memory we are using. Okay. Then you may have a question like how much disk we are using. So for that, you can see here we will get all the options, and then connect, networking, the options which we have not configured. Under disks, you can see disks is available, and from here we can see what is the size of our hard disk. So this is 30 GB of hard disk which we are getting as a by default. Okay. So this is the process of creating a virtual machine. Any doubt, anyone about this process? Not understood how to create a virtual machine? Simple, straightforward process. If you don't understand, let me know. Otherwise, type yes, you understood. We will go ahead. Type yes if you understood how to create a simple VM in Azure. Type yes in the comment so that I will come to know you are understood and you are with me. No one is behind. Okay. I want responses from everyone, guys, because that will help me to understand you are getting or not. So this is a kind of feedback from you. You are getting whatever we are discussing. Okay. And at the same time, it will help you to keep concentration on the class. Now you can see here, you can see the VM Linux, which we have created. Just click on it. And here is option connect, and click on connect. Very simple. Then here it is showing native SSH and SSH using Azure CLI. So what is Azure CLI? So Azure CLI is, it provides one more machine to connect to that newly created virtual machine. And then native SSH is means we can connect from our local computer to the virtual machine which we have created. So here we will get a browser interface, so we don't need to do, and it is very easy to connect. So let's use the first option, SSH using Azure CLI. And you can see everything is checked. Then it will ask you to understand all the terms and condition. Click configure and connect, and it will open in browser session so that we can access our newly created virtual machine. So it will take some 30 seconds, and then we will be able to connect. So you can see it is checking prerequisites. What it checks, if port 22 is open or not. Then it checks for the resources are ready to connect. All those prerequisites are checked, and using that, it will allow us to connect to our new virtual machine. Okay. So now I guess you don't have the Azure accounts, right? No one has having cloud accounts. Okay. So I will give a solution to you. You don't need to create cloud accounts at this point. Or you want to create, you can go ahead and create it. But if you don't want to create, so there is a way you can still practice Linux. Okay. So now you can see that at the bottom of the screen, let me make it zoom. You can see here. Okay. Is it readable? Okay. So here you can see when you connect to Linux for the first time, it asks you, are you sure you want to connecting? Yes, no. So always type yes so that you will get connected to the Linux machine. And it adds the host name and all those so that we can connect. At the bottom, you can see. And here, this is a detail about the machine. So this is a documentation about Ubuntu, what you want to learn and all those stuff. And these are the details about operating system. And here you can see the cursor is blinking. So you can see it is very bottom. So let me clear the screen. And now you can see it is at the top. Okay. So first thing first, we do PWD. PWD tells us where we are. So you can see this is our location. For example, this is showing home and then username. Then now you want to understand about the host name. So what is the computer name? So you can simply type the command host name and it will show the computer name. So you can see it is showing VM Linux. It means the computer to which we are connected is a VM Linux. So this command is useful when you are dealing with the multiple servers. So right now we are connected only one Linux server, so we can easily remember where we are. But there may be scenario you will connect 2 to 3 Linux machines from the single machine, and at that time you need to understand which current machine you are accessing or using. So in that case, you can use hostname command. So it will tell which machine you are using. Then next command is, for example, if you want to check the IP address of this machine, then you can type ifconfig. So if you have used it in Windows, it is ipconfig, but in Linux, it is ifconfig. So it is not showing ifconfig not found. Okay, no problem. So here, whenever we connect to any Linux machine, we have to update the package. So sudo apt update. So sudo is a like admin in Linux. For admin, it is called as a sudo user, and then apt is a package manager. So what is package manager? In Windows, what we do go to website, we download .exe or MSI package, and we click and click install. So that is the way of installing the applications in Windows. But in Linux, we don't need to download .exe files. Every operating system comes with a package. So that also we will cover when we will see what is Linux package manager in depth. But at this point, whenever you log into any Linux machine for the first time, this is a command which you have to use sudo apt update. So it will update the package manager. So now you can see. So what it does, it actually checks the machine which you have created is up to date with all the information, all the packages are up to date. Okay, so then sudo apt update is the command to use this. Okay, so now this is a way, and now let's use the commands which we have used yesterday. So now here I want to create the folder. So what is the command to create a folder or directory? Type in the comment box. So let me know how much you remember from yesterday's session. What is the command to create a new folder or directory? Type in the comment box. Okay, Tejas is giving right answer. mkdir, perfect. Mkdir is the command to create the directory. Very simple. Mk for make, dir for directory. Okay, so let's create a new directory. Make directory. So give a name. You can give any name. And now I want to check the directory is created or not. So what is the command? To list all the items. What is the command? To list. Yes, perfect. Shital, you are right. ls is the command to list all the folders and files. So it is very simple. List ls. Make directory mkdir. Okay. So now you can see ls, it is showing DevOps. It is showing a folder. But now here you have to understand. Now it is all showing in white color. So let me create a one file with the name DevOps. And now here if I do ls, you can see only day off. So I want to see all the files, hidden files. So then there is a command ls-la or ls-al. So now you can see there are multiple files which are, let me make a small. Okay. So now here you can see ls-la. So it is showing total 28 files. And who has that created? So you can see these are the hidden files. And yesterday there were only 2 hidden files. But now here you can see there are multiple files. And this is a, so now here you can see it is difficult to understand which is a file and which is a folder, because this is a Linux terminal which we have accessed. So I have shown you yesterday. If you see D at these are the information about the file or directory. If you see the first character as D, this is a directory. Here you can see D as a directory, D as a directory, and this is a directory which we have created. Okay. And let's create some files. So let me create multiple files. So now you can see it is showing, this is now here it is, you can see I have created DevOps, but there is already directory with a DevOps. So it is not creating the duplicate file with the same name. And now here you can see it is very difficult to understand which is a file and which is a directory. So then we have a command called ls-la. So if it is not visible, let me clear the screen. And for you who want to clear the screen at a time, you can type clear. So it will clear the screen and you can go to the ls-la. So now here you can see DevOps 1, DevOps 2. I have created these 2 files, but DevOps, there is a already directory with name as a DevOps. So it did not create a new or duplicate file with the same name. And you can see DevOps 1, DevOps 2 is created using a touch command. So now here you can clearly understand which is a directory and which is a file. So you can see it is showing as a hyphen. So these are the files and this D is a directory. Okay. So now this is a method of creating a virtual machine for practice. Now I will show you one more approach how you can do the practice. So for creating a cloud account, you need a credit card. Then there is a limited usage, like there is a credit given by them. So then there is a website called Practice Docker. Sorry, Play with Docker. So this is a website. You need to type Play with Docker, and if you log in, click Play with Docker. So the URL will come like labsplaywithdocker.com. This is a free available. I will share it in chat box so everyone can access it. And you will see here, Play with Docker. Click on login, then select Docker, and you have to use your account, any Gmail account. And using your Gmail account, you can log into this. And then once you log in, so I just simply select login with Gmail, and whatever account I have logged in here, it got selected. And if you see Play with Docker, I can click on start. So this kind of interface will open. So this is very easy and very simple to create the Linux practice. So now here you can see here the session which you have opened, it is available for you for practicing for 4 hours. So this is a much more than required 4-hour session. So what it happens, it gives you a tiny Linux containers. So that these are not the exact Linux virtual machines, but these are containers instead. And here you can create the practice and you can learn the same commands which we have learned. So now here you can go click add new instance. And then you can see here, this is a sandbox environment. Using personal credentials is highly discouraged. Any consequences of doing so are completely the user's responsibilities, the PWD team. So it means they have provided us a very small containers. So what is container? That we will see in later as we move ahead in the course. But at this point, this is not a virtual machine, just like we created this one. It has one virtual CPU, 1 GB of RAM. It is having a very less memory than that. So now here you can see it is showing local root. So here root is the username. Always remember Linux root at the rate. So root shows the username and then at the rate shows the host name or the IP address of the machine. So this is a IP address of the machine. So let me type host and it will show this command is not found because that, as I told, this is a container. So there will be some little uh, commands will not work. Okay. And you will experience this thing when you are working on Linux distributions. Some commands will not work with some distributions. So you need to install the relevant packages for that. So let me try ifconfig. And you can see ifconfig command is working here perfectly. And it is showing us the IP address. So this command ifconfig was not working in our Linux machine. Why it is not working? Because there is a different package or a different command for Ubuntu for checking the IP address. So this is a different flavor. So this is not sure. This is not a Linux flavor, but this may be a different version. Okay. So now here you can see if I type ifconfig command on this, you can see it is showing Docker 0. Means it is using a Dockerized container at the back. And then you will see the IP address. You can see here, this is IP address of a machine. It is showing 192.168.0.8. But in some cases, if it is not showing the IP address and it is showing you the host name, then you can use this command ifconfig and you can find out the IP address here, ETH0. ETH means Ethernet card. And then here, Ethernet 1. So it has a 2 Ethernet cards. And here you can see the IP address in ETH0. So first IP address is 192.168.0.8. You can see the same IP address it is showing, and this is with Ethernet card 1, Ethernet 0. And then there is a one more IP address. You can see 172.80.0.36. So this is whenever we have a server, there is chance there is a multiple Ethernet cards. And this is because high availability is required. So whenever server is you connecting a server, the server has multiple Ethernet cards. So here that's why you can see there are two IP addresses for this machine. Okay. Now, so this is ifconfig and you can use this for practice. So now I think you are confident enough how you can start the practice. I have shown you three ways to practice the Linux commands. The one is installing Oracle VirtualBox in your local machine and then downloading Ubuntu operating system and creating a virtual box in your local machine. So that is the one way you can practice. Second way, if you have Azure account or any cloud account, Azure, AWS, GCP, you can create a virtual machine and practice. And third, the easiest way, you don't need to create any cloud account. You don't need to create VirtualBox on our local machine. You have to just log in. Let's play with docker.com and you have to log in with your Gmail ID and you will get the machine. But the problem with that, if you don't have a reliable internet connection, then you can see this connection may be lost. So that is the only problem with this let's uh, let's play with Docker platform. If your internet is fluctuating, then you will experience the disconnection issue. Otherwise, you can practice on any three platforms as per your choice so that you can confident enough to learn about the Linux. Okay. So now I hope everyone is clear how you are going to practice and how we are moving ahead. So let's use this. Let's play with docker.com and try to revise what we have learned or whatever commands we have learned yesterday. So this is a very beginning session. So I am going very slowly so that everyone can understand. Today, if someone has joined a new for the first time, they also not feel missed out. So let's start with the practice. So this is our, okay, is it visible to all? Let me confirm, please. Is it visible? Okay, perfect. So now you can see I am here. And so first step, we check PWD, present working directory. So where we are located. So where we are working. So that is very important to understand where we are. So you can see it is showing /root. And at the same time, you can see this is showing a tilde. So this is a symbol which represents root. So now, if I want to create a folder, I will use the command mkdir. Let's create a folder and see that folder is created or not using ls command. So it will list the folder. So here you can see it is little bit colorful rather than Azure account. So here you can see the colors as well. So let's create a files. So how to create a files? We have learned that we can create a multiple files at the same time using a touch command. So touch command will create a multiple files. So let me give name file1, file2, file3. So I have created 3 files using a touch command. And if I want to check ls, I can do ls. And you can see here folders are or directories are shown in a blue color and files are shown in a white color. Again, here we can identify it. But if it is not showing like that, we can do the command ls-la. And here you can see the directories. So you can see these are the dot, single dot and two dot. These are the default directories in every folder when we create. So you can see it is a D, that is mean directory. And then these are .git config. Again, it is a file because it starts with hyphen. Then .ssh. This is a directory because it starts with a D. And then DevOps. This is a directory which we created. It starts with D. And these are the 3 files, file1, file2, file3, which we created. It starts with hyphen, hyphen, hyphen. Okay. So now these commands we have learned yesterday, how to create a file, how to create a directory, and we have learned how to copy the files. So if I want to copy the file, simple command is cp, then the file which I want to copy, let's see, I have to copy the file one. You can see file one, and where I have to copy to DevOps folder. So cp file1 DevOps. So this way, source file1 will get copied to the destination, means it will get copied into the DevOps folder or DevOps directory. So cp file1 DevOps, press enter and see ls. And now here I want to see the file is available or not. So I can go inside that folder using command cd. Cd stands for change directory, cd DevOps, and then again I need to do ls. So you can see if I do ls, I can see only one file present in the DevOps directory. And here you can see, now here you can see earlier we were at root. It was showing tilde. Now we are inside the root. There is a folder or directory called DevOps, and we are inside that tilde DevOps. So you can see here, this is the structure which we are available. So now here, let's see, we have a requirement of creating a multiple directories at the same time, or like this, we have to create this structure. So how we can do that? So if I want to go back to root, I can type cd and 2 dots. Then I will come back to my root. Now you can see I came back to the tilde symbol and I am back to my root location. So let me go back to the screen, top screen, so that everyone can see. So this is shortcuts. Alt enter, we can go with full screen. So I will try a full screen so that it will be easy. Okay, now you can see this is, let me zoom it a little bit. Okay, I think now it is good for everyone and you can read it clearly. So Alt enter will show you the full screen. And now here, what I want to do, I want to create a directory structure where I want the child folders or child directory as well. So let's create how we can create that. So make dir hyphen p. Hyphen p stands for parent, and I want to create parent slash child. So this is a name of a directory. Parent directory will be created and child directory will be created. So I simply press enter. So now here I can create a multiple directories at the same time if I use hyphen p. So let's do ls, and you can see there is a parent directory got created. So now here I have created a one subdirectory inside that. So how I have created, I have used a hyphen p. So hyphen p stands for parent. So this directory is assumed as a parent directory, and inside that directories are considered as child directory. So let's see, if I want to go inside that child directory, I can simply type parent. So it's p is capital and then child. And you can see I am inside now parent child, and that you can see here where I am. So I am at root. Inside root I am in the parent folder, and inside parent I am into the child folder. So this way I can create the subdirectories and directories using the operator hyphen p. Okay. So understood how we can create the sub multiple directories at the same time? Everyone understood? Type yes. So this is the new part which we have learned today, which we, okay, perfect. So keep replying so that I will come to know you are getting it. Okay. So this is what we want to learn. Okay. So yesterday we have learned a copy CP, then we have learned MV to move or rename files. So let's move the file. Okay, now I want to come to the root directly, cd slash. So you can see it is a tilde. So I can simply type cd tilde, and I will come back to my root folder. Now you can see I have come back to the root. If I do ls again, I will see all the files and folders present in my current folder. And if I want to go back to this path, I can simply type cd and copy. I can do copy also. So like this, we have learned control insert for copy and then shift insert for paste. And I can move from one directory to another directory like this. So let's, if I want to go back to home, cd tilde, so it will get directly to the location, any location. So now here we want to move the file. Okay. So here, let's see, this is a file 3, and we want to move this file into this parent child. So how we can do that? Simple command mv, type file 3, and then give this path, and it will get moved to the directly. Copy, control insert, shift insert will paste, and press enter. Okay, it is saying can't rename file 3, no such file or directory. Okay, where I am? Okay, I am at a root folder. Let's check ls. So this is a file 3. Okay, so now here this mv command. Okay, so it is given a slash. So let me remove this slash and press. Okay, so this was the issue. I have added slash. That's why it assumed I want to rename that file, file 3. So now you can see ls, and you can see the file 3 has been moved to this path. Okay, so now here I want to open that file. Let me clear again, it is arrow. Okay, so now here I will do ls. Okay, now you can see the file 3 has been disappeared here. It is not showing. So now here I want to open that file. How I can open? So we have learned yesterday vi, and then path we need to give parent slash. Okay, so here if I give a p and press tab, you can see nothing is happening because Linux is a case sensitive language. If I type capital P and press tab, you can see it auto completes. Then similarly I can type C and press tab, it will auto complete. And then F and tab, you can see it is auto completing this, because if there is no ambiguity. So I want to open that file 3 for editing. So I will use VI and press enter. So now you can see editor is open, and if I start typing here, I will not able to type. So what I need to do, I need to press I, so that it will, insert mode will be enabled. At the bottom, you can see insert is mode is available. And here I can start typing like this. And how I can save this file? Yesterday we have learned it. Let me know who remembers. Yeah. So insert mode, Shital, you are right. You gave answer as I. So let me know. I want to save this file and get exit. What is the command to save and exit? First, perfect answer, Naneshwari. Shital, perfect answer. Tejas, you are also right. You said WQ and exclamatory marks. So that exclamatory mark we use when we have to forcefully quit. If we are getting any error, then only we use exclamatory mark. Otherwise, we don't need to use WQ exclamatory mark. Okay. So first we need to get out of this insert mode. For that, we need to press escape key. So you can see insert is disappeared, and then colon WQ. So it is not visible because here is one icon, but I have typed WQ, press enter. Okay, it appeared. Okay, good. And you can see this has been WQ. So this is icon, it is not going. Let me try if I can. Okay. So it is giving me some whiteboard of stuff. I can use it like this, but this is not moving another place. Okay. So this is not ready to go anywhere. Let's bear with him. Okay. So now here I want to read that file. How I can do? Cat command, and then I can give the path directly from here, and I will be able to read the file. So here you can understand, without changing our current location, like I am at still root, and still I am able to read the files from the different paths. So you can see parent child file 3 and welcome to DevOps course. So this is the content which we have typed into this file, and WQ, we use W for write, Q for quit. And if some due to some issues or errors, we are not able to write and quit, then we can use WQ exclamatory mark. So that will be forcefully write and quit. Okay. So colon WQ is very important. Or we don't want to write anything, then we can simply type colon Q. So it will simply quit the file. Okay. So now here we learn how to move from one location to another location. Now yesterday we learned about the renaming the file. So let's see. I want to rename this file name. So I can copy this using Control Insert and then Shift Insert. And then what I want to rename, I want to rename to the file 3 to new name, and I will give a new name like new file and press enter. So now here, if I try to cat the previous file, so I can use a previous up arrow. So this is a cat command which we have used in last parent child file 3, and I press enter. You can see can't open parent child file 3, no such file or directory. Why? Because we have renamed that file to new file. Okay, so let's open file 3 with a new name which we have typed. Simply type n and press tab, it will autocomplete. And you can see we can read that file. Okay, so now here we understood how to rename the files. Okay, now here we will learn a new command, that is delete the file, how we can remove the file. So we have learned how to create a file, how to copy files, how to move files, and how to rename files. But what if we want to delete the files? Does anyone know what is the command to remove the files? You can type in the chat box. So you can see ls is a command which will show us all the files which are present. So let's say I want to delete this file too. So then there is a simple command. I want to remove. So the command is rm. Simple. Rm will remove the file. Type, you can see file2 and the file will be removed. You can check ls and you can see now here are only two directories, DevOps parent and file1. The file2 has been removed. So this is a simple command to remove the file. Okay, now let's say we want to remove this directory DevOps. Okay, let me clear again, it will not showing. Okay, so let's see, I want to remove this DevOps directory. So how I can remove this? So we learn rm to remove the files, but let's try same command. Can we remove it? So you can see DevOps is a directory. We cannot remove that because this is rm is used to remove the files. So what is the command to remove that? The command is rmdir. Just like mk make directory, rmdir, and we can remove the directory. Okay, now here is again twist. Now you can see rmdir, the command is correct, but it is giving the error directory is not empty. Okay, so if it is not an empty directory, then we cannot delete those files. The first thing is we need to delete the files inside that directory, and then only we can delete the directory. Or we can add one more command, rm-r. So it will recursively delete, means it will delete all the files inside that directory. So I can use rm-r. So rm means is removing the files and -r means recursive. So whatever files are there, delete all. So now if I do ls, you can see there is no DevOps directory available. And here in Linux, there is no concept called a recycle bin like Windows. If you delete the files, it deleted. So make sure while you are deleting. Okay. So now here we learn today how to create a parent directory or multiple directories at the same time. We learn how to toggle between multiple directories, and we have learned how to remove files, how to remove the directories. Okay. So let's see help is working here or not. Let's see man. So here you can see you have to just type help rm, but it is saying no topics match. Then it is saying you can search for these pages like man-k rm. So man will be open the manual pages for this command. Okay, it is not available. Let's see info rm is available. It is also not available. Help try. Sorry, type error. Help, and you can see it is showing the help. So how we can get the help? So help command we have to use, and then we have to follow the pattern. Okay. So help, it is, let me come back. Help mkdir. It is not available here. Let's try the same command in our virtual machine which we have created. Help mkdir. Help not found. Okay. mkdir help. It is also not showing here. Nothing appropriate. Okay. So here it is not showing any information. Help, help. So every Linux has a different ways to access the. So in that case, if you are not getting, you can simply type how to use help command in Linux. So this is the Ubuntu official documentation, and I will share the cheat code here for the all. So here you can see this is the command which we have learned, mkdir. You can see all the details about this, how to create a new folder, mkdir, then cd, then we can create a multiple directories at the same time. You can go inside this and then you can do ls to read all the contents. And same thing which I have learned how to create a parent directory, mkdir-p, dir4, dir5, dir6, we can create the multiple directories. But here what I want to give you a chart sheet where all the commands are available. So let me share Ubuntu download server. Yes, this is the site. Okay. So let me directly give, you can, how you can set chart sheet, sorry, cheat code for Ubuntu. And it will give you the official cheat code. Okay, it is getting to this page only. It should give us a directly cheat code. Cheat code, no, cheat sheet. So here you can see open chat, like go here, cheat sheet, and this is a cheat sheet which you can download where all the IP address or all the commands are available. So this is OpenStack cheat sheet. No, this is not required for us. We need a Linux. Let me, why it is not showing me? Products, documents. Here, Ubuntu server docs. Yes. And here we will get, okay, I will share this with you. I may have already downloaded. Okay, don't worry. I will share this cheat code. 1, 2. They may have changed the location of that, but this is a cheat sheet which I will share in the group, WhatsApp group, so that everyone can access it. Okay, so okay, we are already out of time. No problem. So hope you are enjoying these sessions, and I will share cheat sheet in shortly in the group. You can go and practice the commands so that you can start practicing side by side, as well as you can read the commands also, and you will able to practice it. Okay, do you have any questions regarding today's session? Let me know. If you are good, we can stop here, and we will continue from tomorrow same time, 8 to 9, and make sure you join at 8 so that we can start at least at 5. And okay, does anyone have any questions regarding the part which we selected, we learned? Any syllabus related query, any query regarding this course, you can ask me. Yes, Nanish was asking, you can use Play with Docker, and you just need a Gmail account for that. You don't need, you can, I have shared the link in the URL in chat box. You can go with that. Let me share it again. So what you need to do, you need to Google and just type Play with Docker. That's it. And here you will get a URL, Play with Docker, labs.playwithdocker.com, and you will see login button, and then you have to download, sorry, you have to log in using your Gmail account, and you can using it. So it is instant, and you can start practicing right away. Like this, here you need to go to click add new instance, and the Linux machine is ready in front of you. So here you can see it is a tiny screen. If you want to go to big screen, press Control Enter, and it will be here. Go to settings, Alter Enter. Okay, not the Control Enter, it is Alter Enter. Press Alter Enter, and it will give you a full screen view if you press Alter Enter. And if you want to go back, just press back, or you can type Alter Enter. And here is the settings. Here are the shortcuts. Control plus plus for increase font size. Control minus plus minus minus is decrease font size. And you can see which Linux image is using. It is Flanella DIND. So can we change? Yes, we have option to change. Only 3 instances are available, which we can change. Okay. Anyone has any other doubt? If we are good, we can stop here. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. If you have made a mind to start your career as a DevOps engineer, please get enrolled as soon as possible so we can start our syllabus, and we can go with. So this is a beginning session, so I'm going with very slow speed. So we will increase speed slow by gradually so that everyone can understand. And this will be the way I will give a time for every session, 5 minutes. If you have any questions, and after clearing your doubts only, we will move ahead in the course. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Keep learning, keep practicing. See you tomorrow, same time.